Welcome to my channel, Canines First. I'm Susan Stroh. I've been working with pet dogs and their people for 24 years as a trainer. My co-host for today's video is Alexis Daniel. Alexis' mother was a professional groomer, breeder, and handler in the show ring, which led to Alexis becoming an AKC junior handler, and when she was old enough, she helped her parents by managing their boarding, daycare, and grooming facility. During the time she wasn't working for her parents' dog-focused business, she spent 10 years as a veterinary technician. She's retired from the dog game professionally, but still participates in volunteer work.
You need some color in the intro. Hey, Bandit, look at the camera.
Look at you.
Yeah, sit up there. Let's go, Bandit.
Oh, yep. You fit like a,
Oh, wow.
yeah.
Okay. This is where you want to be for the comeback. So when you sent me a list of what are 5 things you should do when you bring a puppy home, I thought immediately I wanted to clarify with you what you meant, but I thought, no, maybe it'll be more fun. I'm just going to interpret.
Yeah.
And it may not at all been what you were thinking, but I'll tell you what I came up with.
I love it.
And how I interpret.
Yeah.
Okay.
So top 5 things. You found the dog. This is what I was thinking. You found the dog. You did all the research for the dog that's going to fit your family. Bringing the dog home. What do you think is the most important things to do? And I did it in I have a list.
You didn't prioritize
but
it.
I didn't prioritize it. Although maybe I did, like psychologically.
Yeah, without knowing it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my first one is set a regular schedule.
Okay.
I think so many people go get the dog on the weekend, stare at the dog, and then Monday it's school and work.
Yeah.
And that's not reality. And then they panic. And even if you have a chaotic life, you kind of have some schedule.
Yeah.
Or you got to change that up. This is when we go potty. This is when we eat. This is when you're crated to go to sleep. I think setting a schedule.
To your point, I tell my clients that are trying to get their dogs either used to a crate or being alone to make up errands to go run. If you don't have any, just you got to leave the house.
Yeah, you go for a walk without the dog. Yeah, and dogs. I think we used to have a client that was always he would pop in, and he'd say, "Oh, they're so calm at the daycare," and I always told him, "Yeah, because they know their needs are going to be met. They know when they're going to get fed. They know." It's a well-oiled machine. They know when they go back to their house, they've got water and a clean bed. Like, they like the comfort of a schedule. Now, sometimes, they're going to be in their house until they're figuring it out. But if you don't set that schedule, then they're even more chaos.
I think people panic almost immediately when it's not going their way. Like day one.
Change schedule.
Yeah, okay, well, let's try something else.
Yeah, and their brains are this
big. Maybe we leave them in here. We'll leave them in here. Okay, well, don't put them in the crate.
So then there is no schedule. Like, shit,
you're constantly changing
reaction, stimuli.
Yes.
So that was my, I think, getting them on a schedule.
Okay.
Even if you have to create it.
Just make it up.
Yeah. Number 2, heartworm prevention.
Okay.
That is if you do nothing medically ever for your dog, I don't care where you live, what state, they found heartworms and everything, heartworm prevention. Not flea and tick and combo, the $100 job.
Even if you just do heartworm.
Just heartworm once a month.
Okay.
And I'm not a fan of the 6-month injection because I'm a lazy person, because I think that's...
You don't think it's as effective?
Well, I think it's too much medicine.
All at once.
And 2, if they have a reaction, you can't stop it and change because you're committed for 6 months.
Yeah.
And if you can't remember doing something once a month, set a reminder on your phone. Yeah. There's a million things. Personally, what I do is I'm an old lady and I have the paper calendar in the kitchen. And when I give it, I put the sticker on the thing. Because I can't tell you how many times I'm like, did I give it?
Because they give you stickers with it.
Did I give it? And I go, oh, yeah, because I put the sticker.
Yeah.
Heartworm prevention. And yes, sometimes I do flea and tick, but that's a whole different discussion.
Yeah, right.
We treat our house. We treat our I bathe regularly,
Right.
whatever. Heartworm prevention.
Okay.
One, it's
I like that.
inexpensive if you're just doing it heartworm separate.
So I want to follow up
Yeah.
on that. What happens if you don't give heartworm prevention? Okay, so the answer is, well, they could get heartworm, but I want you to explain.
They will get heartworms. There's no
that's a good point. They will get heartworm.
And then it's expensive, very painful, very hard on the animal.
Is
to
the
treat.
treatment painful?
Extremely.
Oh.
They have to get 2 shots in their lumbar.
Oh, Lord.
And usually, like with Evie, she had such terrible separation anxiety. We did the slow kill on her, which is you give a preventative that is safe to give if they get heartworms that prevents basically the baby heartworms. So they're not creating new ones. So we're trying to kill out the ones that are there. Vet friends, don't listen. This is the abridged version. And then a lot of times you'll treat with doxycycline for depending on how heavy a load you have. And then usually you give 1 shot. And again, some of this is dependent on how bad your case is.
Yeah. Okay.
Wait a month, give another shot. But in that, if they're sloughing off any of the heartworms, they can go in their lungs. There is all kinds of terrible things that can happen during treatment, even in the best of scenarios.
Okay.
So it's just easier to give a preventative once a month. And I think all now, I don't want to say all, and don't go buy the ivermectin from the feed store. Don't even get me started on that. I would say top 3 as a vet tech, worst deaths I ever saw was ivermectin toxicity from somebody trying to cheap out and do it themselves. And I think all heartworm preventions now also have other dewormers in it, because that's all heartworm prevention is a dewormer. It's retroactively killing what's in them every 30 days. And most of them also have roundworm treatment, hookworm treatment.
All in one.
Yeah, whenever you're out in the world, they're going to pick stuff up.
Okay.
But yeah, I think for like, I don't know, HeartGuard's my favorite, unless you have, a seizure-prone dog or a border collie. They're the exception to HeartGuard. But HeartGuard's always been my favorite. I like knowing you had your heartworm prevention. And yes, we had a new neighbor move in, college kids move in a few years ago, where we were treating a little bit more for fleas and ticks because they weren't treating their dogs. But I like keeping them separate for a million reasons.
Okay.
1, because I'm a cheapo, and 2,
so that you think that is the area you can maybe pinch your budget on.
Yeah, because fleas are annoying and disgusting, and yes, they carry things. They're not going to kill your dog. Well, I mean, yes, if you are riddled with fleas and they're anemic,
you're right.
That's extreme cases. Most
but getting a flea
is not going to kill you.
It's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
Times are tough.
Yeah.
And people are having a hard time taking care of their pets.
Yeah.
This isn't very expensive, is it? It's like $20 a month.
The bigger your dog, of course, Hank's 65 pounds. I think his single dose is 30, 40.
Okay.
The little dogs are 20, I think, each.
Okay.
But to treat a dog with heartworms,
going to cost you more.
Thousands.
Okay. And if somebody, let's say they find themselves in a bind and every dollar counts, would you say that they look for help within their community, that there's some organizations out there that are trying to keep pets in their home if they have loving homes?
Yeah, I think Dallas Animal or DPA has a PASS program.
That's Dallas Pets Alive.
Yeah.
That's right.
And I think there are other organizations, and that's the other thing about heartworm prevention. You go in for your annual, it's vaccines, blood work, UA. I get it. That can be a giant chunk. But most vets, I think, mine does, you can get 1 month at a time of heartworm prevention.
Right. If you don't want it all to come out at once in a 6-month pack.
Yeah. And so, it'd be a little bit of a pain. A lot of vets also you can order it and they'll ship it to you. So it's less of a trip, an online pharmacy. But that's just one of the things you can't skimp on.
Okay.
That's
a good lesson, I think.
especially in Texas.
Yeah.
The repercussions of not and the
It's just
damage
too-
those heartworms can do is, it's just
You don't
not a
wanna
place
play
I
with
can't
it.
skimp.
Okay.
It's not a place I can skimp. Yeah, I've seen so many times people do I give my dog ivermectin, and that just automatically sends me, because was that stored properly? It's sort of like giving your own vaccines. Did you get it from the manufacturer, or was that sitting on a dock in the heat? There's a difference between what gets shipped from the manufacturer to the vet than what you're getting at the feed store. We saw it time and time again in Lubbock. People would say, "Oh, I gave him parvo. I gave him distemper. Here's my records," and they would show up with parvo and distemper, and it's just, the feed store is a great place. I'm not trying to knock the feed store. Just get it from your vet.
Okay.
It's just one of those things. Price it. Like, that's the other thing is, I think, when you're looking for the perfect dog, you found the perfect dog.
Yeah.
Maybe go ask your vet, hey, what's a 60-pound dog price?
Cost.
What's a 25, 30-pound dog? And you'll see that adds up real quick.
So this is another place that the size of your dog could save you money.
Yeah. And doing that research before. But heartworm is...
Everybody wants a big dog, but
Everybody
they
does.
forget there's some big prices sometimes with some of the...
Yeah, you break a leg. That's going to be a lot more expensive.
Is it anesthesia more?
Oh, yeah. And surgery, spay, neuter, food.
Bigger the dog, the bigger the bill.
Yeah. Bigger the poo.
Yeah, bigger the poo. Yeah, that's a good point. That's something to keep in mind. It can, maybe in these difficult times, it's not quite as insignificant as it used to be.
And talk to your vet. Like, say, hey, is there any way we could space out, maybe do his heart or his, vaccines next month? And I think that's another thing that people just, you get to go, well, he said I need this.
Yeah.
Well, let's have a conversation.
Yeah.
I would say 90% of the times when you have a good relationship with your vet, it's because they know all the information. By, moral, ethic, law, their sort of rule of thumb should be offer the gold standard.
Yeah.
Offer gold standard first.
Yeah.
And then, hey, let's have a discussion of like, okay, let's come up with a plan in the next 6 months.
What are some other ideas?
Over the next year, here's what we can do. I think most people get nervous or too prideful to say, like, kids got braces.
Yeah.
We just had to buy a new car.
Help me out here. What
can we prioritize? And they can give you an estimate and say, here's our plan for the next 6 months. But heartworm isn't one of those.
It's better to not be prideful.
Yeah.
And instead be realistic, and you don't want your dog to suffer or have to get rid of your dog.
Yeah. Or
the dog
the worst case.
Yeah.
Of
cross the rainbow bridge.
Yeah.
Okay. What's your number 3?
Number 3, good nutrition.
Okay.
You gotta, and how many times do people say, what should I feed my dog?
Every day. All the time.
And that is just such a loaded...
Like, how do you raise kids?
Yeah. Right. And I'm like, how do you not think it translates? It's the same with us.
Yeah.
Like,
what's the cheapest I can get away with?
Yeah. What's the, and unfortunately in dog food, similar to people food now,
it's costly.
You get what you pay for it.
Yeah.
Old Roy's cheap.
Okay. So would you summarize it as get the best you can afford?
Yeah. It's better for him to have food.
Yeah.
But
don't just grab the cheapest bag from the shelf.
Because you think it's some trick or scam. Unfortunately, it really is. You get what you pay for.
Yeah.
But I think that's a good rule of thumb.
Yeah, I like it.
Regular bathing and grooming.
It's number 4. Boy, isn't that the truth. And you probably have your reasons, but I have mine. And that's like waiting until they're 6 months, a year. Like, I guess we should try to give them a bath. Well, good luck.
Yeah. All arms and legs.
Do you have reasons outside of behavioral
I think
reasons?
So much allergies. People too. Like
because they're carrying it on their foot.
Yeah, every pollen. And granted, a lot of this is probably Texas-based recommendations or Louisiana Southern based. But I think so much health and allergies I mean, it's like us. You've been working in the garage all
Yeah.
day. Don't you feel better when you go take a shower
Yeah.
and you get all that off?
Yeah.
And getting them used to it. It's also sort of I don't want to say power struggle isn't the right word,
It
but
can be
I'm the
a
boss
moment.
and you have
Yeah.
to do what you're told type thing.
Mm-hmm.
Not everything is rainbows and
Yeah.
puppies.
Sometimes
you got to
it's a
get it
bummer.
groomed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's sort of one of those, did you do the research before? You know, getting your golden groomed, it's not $40 anymore.
Mm-mm. No, it isn't.
I'm always shocked when, like, because I'm nosy and I want to know, oh, how much does that cost these
Uh-huh.
days? I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah.
but I know how much effort it takes on the other side
Around
of that.
here, I would say if somebody's coming to your home, $150 for a golden retriever, if not
Probably.
more.
Yeah, and then to go someplace, which then you're loading up
Yep.
and you're going someplace and you're
So
dropping
it takes
off,
your time, your
and
gasoline.
picking back up, and working with their schedule. But I think a lot of, and you find stuff. I mean, I'm always like, where'd that bump come from?
Yeah,
Where
that's right.
just
Switching topics, you get to keep an eye on your dog's
being
health.
familiar with
Yeah.
day to day.
And if they're sore, you may not find out.
Yeah.
Unless you give them a bath.
Yeah. Ooh, I don't want you lifting that arm.
Okay. That's a good one.
And for me, boy, this time of year in the summer, I'm probably bathing every 3 weeks. I would say
Yeah.
usually I err on 2 weeks. 4 to 6 is probably standard for like grooming.
We do better if Bandit is bathed weekly.
Yeah.
His allergies and mine.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the house stays cleaner.
Absolutely. Yeah, I didn't want to be crazy, but yeah, that's really better. And
no, I may not need to do it in December, January, February.
Absolutely.
But August, it would be ideal if I did it weekly.
Yeah. When pollen is out, there's nothing worse than the dog lays down on my pillow and I'm like, oh, yeah, just water. Yeah, my dog sleeps on my pillow, whatever. And last, find a good vet. You should have a vet that you can talk to.
Yeah.
That you can call the receptionist and say, hey, I'd like to put a call in with the technician or the vet. I've got some questions, or we'll make an appointment for their time. And when you go in, it shouldn't be wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. We're kind of annoyed. We're
so busy.
We're giving you shots. I want to, hey, something's come up. Maybe this is because I've had old broken dogs, but I want to have a discussion of like, oh, okay, is that the latest information? Why'd they change that? And if you have a vet that either doesn't want to talk to you, gets defensive, or isn't saying, hey, we've learned something new, and then Dallas is too big. Every city has probably multiple vets. Find one.
Do you find that people get better care at privately owned clinics versus corporate owned clinics, or is it just a matter of the individual doctor?
I really used to think that. I used to think any of the big conglomerates that were bought up, they've got you have diarrhea? That's page 6.
Yeah.
This is what I'm supposed to do. But now I think so many of them have been struggling financially because people
are just not spending the money.
Well, they think my vet's out to get me.
Okay.
No, the care has gotten better, and that comes with a fee. So they've had to join the conglomerates. They've had to join the privatization of the bigger, VCAs, Banfields, things like that. But yeah, I really think it's the individual vet. I've too many vet friends that work at the bigger ones that still offer great care. And a lot of the referral clinics now are owned by that. And I've always said, more letters after your name, you're going to get more individual care.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, that's
that your
list.
5?
Yeah, that's my list.
Okay. So I took you so literally.
Day 1.
I was thinking you just got home with your puppy.
Oh, I love it.
So I wrote
just
number 1, take them to the potty place.
If people bring dogs to my house, I'm immediately like, let's go outside, everybody. And they'll say, oh, they just pottied.
No. They're in a new place.
Yeah.
They need to potty at the new place.
And they need to know where the potty place is.
Don't you want to know where the bathroom is?
Yeah, and you get to a restaurant.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I love it.
And then I wrote, now offer them a drink because it's probably been a long ride.
Yeah, and they need to know.
And they need to know where the water is.
Yeah,
And then I put number 3, now put them in their crate. It's been a long day.
I love it.
If you let them run around immediately, you're starting expectations. How about put them in their crate, let them assimilate to the environment, let them rest a bit, let them get to know you
Okay, this is
without
what we do
you
with this
all
house.
up in their face.
It's a hard one, but I want to play with them, Susan. What do I do?
And then here I'll insert a clock sound, because then the next thing I wrote now is take them to the potty place.
Oh, okay. Fast forward
Yeah.
30 minutes.
Yeah. And then it's time to start training. And so the first thing I wrote is, now let's put a collar on them and see how they deal with it.
Yeah.
Because if they throw an absolute hissy and they get their little paw through it, you know they can't be left alone with a collar just yet.
Yeah.
And you may have to work that in with supervision.
Yeah.
But I want them ID'd, I think is the point.
Yeah.
Let's get them ID'd.
Yeah.
And because you probably haven't gotten a chip yet if you brought home a puppy.
Yeah. And how many times do you see on the different social media of fostering dog ran away? And that always breaks my heart because they're trying to do the right thing. And this dog don't know where he's at.
Which is maybe why he's in rescue.
Yeah. Probably not his first escape.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the way I took it. And I think
I love it.
those are both good lists
I
from
love it.
different points of view. Okay. Now let's get
The
on to
crates are mean, Susan.
I know.
I don't want to put them in a cage.
I know. You're going to hate me.
What about its feelings?
All right. Let's criticize social media.
Let's do it.
Okay. So I think I've figured out this whole problem, by the way. I like to preface
With
that.
this one or in general?
In general, with the back and forth on the social media, balanced trainers versus force-free trainers. I think this comes down to ideology. It's not going to be agreed upon ever.
Ever.
And it's really a completely different approach to dog training. Okay, so this lady, for example, she wants to give you the advice that if you're out for a walk and the dog has got the leash and he's tugging on it, that you're going to just stand there and be boring. And she gives some advice to hold the leash, maybe both sides. I don't know why. But anyway, don't let go of the leash, maybe is the point. And then he'll let go and then you'll reward him. And I think she's suggesting that you reward with a marker and then follow it up with food. That is fine, but here's my point. Force-free trainers piecemeal everything, meaning they don't have an overall vision of, this is how I like to live with my dog. And if I tell him no, he's going to stop what he's doing. But rather, here's how you deal with jumping. Here's how you deal with tugging on the leash. Here's how you deal with barking in the crate.
A really good assessment. Yeah. And that's what I always think when you show me these videos. Why don't they just teach no?
Yeah.
Because no can be used in all of the cases.
Multi-purpose.
It's sort of like, I find myself, instead of no, I say stop.
Yeah. Whatever.
I don't actually mean sit, stay, stop. I just mean stop doing whatever you're doing. And
say anything. You say banana.
Yeah.
As long as you give it some value.
No, we need a notebook of, okay, when we're pulling the leash, we have to do the hold the butt. And when we're doing, and then, I want him to do something, but I don't have treats. The treat vending machine can be solved for everything.
Yeah.
You just give treats for everything. And you're right. It's never.
Don't you be caught without treats.
And you have to have multiple treats.
Of different values.
And you're right. It's never, I'm going to teach them these things. And that applies to when we're at Home Depot. That applies to when we have people over. That applies. All the same things apply to all the same different scenarios. Yeah. That's true.
And then, of course, what's hilarious to me about this is I can see a dozen of my clients in my mind and how they try this, and
standing in the
30
street,
minutes later,
maybe with another dog,
they're still there waiting for the dog to stop. Or the dog stops and they get a few more yards down the sidewalk and he starts it up again.
Yeah. How about knock it off? Yeah. Yeah, you're right. It's always a piecemeal of, oh, did you find your dog in this one scenario?
I guess this is another good example of what is she trying to teach? Drop
Leave
it.
it. Yeah.
That could be like the leash again. She wants him to let go of something, and I don't remember what her command is. Oh, it's drop, and she's got treats and she's got an item. Well, the item is of no value. It's of no food value. This item
Yeah,
in
the rope.
particular is a rope. And he kind of only half wants it. He wants her treat as well.
Yeah.
But if she gave him a marrow bone,
we're just playing switcheroo is what we're doing. It's like the cups.
Always with the switcheroo.
With the treat under the cup. Oh,
yeah.
Which one? See, I
the
taught
trading.
him something.
There seemed to be a complete disregard for reality that dog is going to get something at some point. He does not want to give up.
I guess you just have to keep finding that. You just got to keep searching
for a higher value.
Yeah, if we pick up the baby bottle, that's pretty high value with the milk.
What will he give up for that?
Yeah, what you have to just scramble with the baby on your hip going, oh crap, what do I have that's higher value than the delicious baby bottle that's soft on my teeth? What a fun game.
There's nothing inherently wrong with the exercise that she's doing, but I think the message it sends is, and then you're done. And when he picks up a used condom at the park, just say drop and it will.
Yeah.
You remembered to bring your treats to the park, right?
Yeah. And you don't have another dog that's over here trying to do this. And it's
lacking in
the full picture.
Yes. That's why I'm always training for the future, not today.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, I bet you I feel like I've heard your clients say this as well, or ask for this a lot, is I want him to stop doing this because we want to go sit on a porch.
Yes.
Like in this microcosmic, they have this one scenario when you're like,
well, I don't need him to sit down, stay, come, heel, leave it. I just need him to do this.
Yeah. It's bigger than the not run out the door.
I used to argue this all the time. I don't want to go to English, math, science, history.
Yeah. It's not what I'm going to do.
I just like this one thing.
Yeah, I want recess.
But what's the point? The point is...
It's a whole picture.
Yes, it's in a whole picture of a cultivated mind, sophisticated mind.
And you have to always listen.
And you have to always listen.
Not just running out the front door.
Yeah.
You have to sit, stay, come, heel. I'm not going to ever give in, which is, I mean, we all do it. It's hard when you're like, fine.
This, as an example, or just segue, because I think this is a good one. This next reel is a good example of how do you deal with jumping. So the client I met with yesterday, as an example, he's so embarrassed by his large dog jumping on not him, not his wife, but new people it meets. And you just can't set that up for practice regularly.
Yeah. Hey, buddy, can you come over? We're going to watch football, but first I need you to spend 30 minutes.
But that he's got to be willing to come over the next day too. And then and then it's worn out on that person.
Yeah.
So you got to find another new person to come. Okay. So anyway.
And who wants to be that guy?
Yeah.
I mean, luckily you and I have a dog world where our friends are like, yep, be there in a minute, and we'll set them up.
Yeah.
But yeah,
a lot of people don't.
You have to.
So I explained to him we were out working recall and also working on not leaving mom and dad to run up to strangers minding their own business. And I promised him, I said, I know it's really frustrating because we can't work on it hardly ever because it's such an organic thing when it happens. But if you keep putting in this effort toward the recall and just other things that we do have control over, you're going to see his mind become calmer and more sophisticated. You're going to see that jumping come under control.
Towards you, not
yes, exactly.
Yeah, but I just want to teach him once.
I know.
I want to work out once.
One time.
And have abs.
So do I. But anyway, to your point,
she makes me
this
insane.
nice lady.
I know.
Just
anger rage, embarrassment. Like I want to look. She's got 41 likes. That's not crazy, but how many
Maybe more since
people-
I saved it.
Yeah, how many people watched that, went home and tried it,
I think all of them do. All my clients say, "Oh, we tried ignoring him."
and then when it doesn't work, they're like, he just can't be taught.
Hmm.
Because this one person suggested throw treats until they disassociate with somebody coming in the door, ignore, and I tell you, it's been a long time since I've had a dumb puppy, but with currently dumb puppy in the house, it makes me crazy. The second she sees my purse, it's excitement boiling, and so that is something we're working on. But yeah, you can't. It's not one. You don't work on it one.
The force-free approach is always what I call conditioning the dog. They're conditioning the dog that if it sits, it gets rewarded. There's nothing really wrong with that, but you can't condition a dog to leave the skunk alone that you ran into in the alley.
Yeah.
He's got to know what no means.
Yeah.
And he's got to learn to chill out.
Yeah.
Because if he's sitting and staying for your attention,
Yeah, he's still ready.
Jacked up. And they can't hold that forever.
Yeah, that's not realistic.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the other thing is I mean, obviously we're pro positive reinforcement. And like we've said before, I think people think that when you're not purely positive, the other side of that is just complete beatings and flogs.
Yeah.
Like rage, anger.
Yeah.
They have this 1980s version of the tactical vest guy stringing the dog up with the prong collar.
Zap him till he sits down.
Right.
Don't even bother teaching him what sit means. Let him figure it out.
Let him burn to death. And I think, there's a little bit more nuance, obviously, but I also think it's this associating these human feelings.
Yeah.
If we can just break that they're not humans, they don't think that way. They're looking out for number one.
Oh, they are.
And we gotta make sometimes do stuff that's hard for us. Like, I know it sucks to listen to them cry, and they're crying for about 10 minutes, but
it does.
They're not gonna die.
Yeah, and pouting hurts my heart too, but they'll get over it.
Yeah,
they'll come back.
What hurts my heart worse is when they get hit by a car because they've dashed out the front door.
You know what we're talking about.
I would never, mother. It just kills me. I wonder percentage wise, just in Dallas, how many people have tried purely positive, force free, gotten the results they wanted, taking out good dogs that are easily trained with a normal, difficult, not even difficult, like headstrong dog. How many times do they get through that process and think, okay, well, that's as good as I'm going to get?
Probably 90% of the time.
When you could take them the other 20%, and you could have a dog off leash when you go camping, and you could take him to everybody's house at Christmas. And I just, I guess the expectation is low for dog behavior. Like, well, that's what dogs do.
Yeah. Agreed.
Maybe just never have had a well-trained dog.
Yeah. Yesterday I watched the most frustrating video I've ever seen in my life. I'll get right to the point.
So far, this one
I
is
know,
that for me.
That's bad. Another one, I think, said it took 2 years to get their dog to not be reactive to other dogs.
Who's going to do that? Who's going to put in 2 years worth of work?
I don't know.
And I kind of don't believe
person.
that if it took you 2 years, I'm sort of like, do I believe you're really I have always found, and I'm sure you were the one that told me this, that I think purely positive, force free is great for teaching what you do want.
What, teaching their vocabulary?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Here's the things I want you to do. It's not, I have not seen it successful. And this is with dogs that I have worked with other trainers, like either I was helping foster and they were using other trainers.
Mm.
I have never seen it successful. Never. And I hardly say never, never seen it successful
Mhm.
for discouraging bad behavior, like
Yeah.
the jumping
Yeah.
or like food stealing or like the hundreds of other things that people don't want to live with.
Yeah.
Pulling on leash. I mean, I have seen 60 and 70-pound big muscly pits that have been with a trainer for a year, and they can't walk on a leash.
Uh-huh.
Never going to adopt a dog out like that.
No, you're not.
So yeah, I feel like that's sort of my rule of thumb is, I mean, great if you can just do positive
Then
reinforcement.
do it.
Great.
I think you should, if you can
Absolutely.
do it.
If that is the dog you have,
Uh-huh.
congratulations.
Yes, good for you.
You found the unicorn.
Mhm. Besides 2 years being ridiculous, it is very literally not feasible if you live in an apartment.
Oh my gosh.
Every single video I see, they're either at worst in a suburb, and at best they have a ton of land. And the trainer does,
Yeah.
and they can isolate dogs over here, and they set up a situation nobody has,
Yeah.
and nobody can replicate.
Or aren't like, well, that's great. That's not the problem I'm trying to fix.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, well, how does this person get from their apartment into the hallway to the elevator?
Down to the dog park.
The dog has to go to the bathroom now.
Yeah.
And then I've got to go to work.
Yeah.
And there's no solution for that.
2 years.
2 years. We have to move.
Yeah, for 2 years. Is there a new building that nobody lives in yet?
Yeah. And it's not that I've not told people, hey, when this lease is up, this may not be the best place for your dog. Yeah, I can believe that can be the case sometimes.
Yes, absolutely.
But if we're talking about a dog that can live in an apartment just fine,
If you just
this sets
apply
some boundaries.
a little pressure.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing is what does that look like? It's a different collar, it's different tools. It's not a whole life change.
Yeah.
It's not rearranging your whole apartment for, I need the biggest crate or I need
No,
these things.
it doesn't have to be.
It can be such minor,
Mhm.
can be a collar change.
Yeah.
And I sent you that picture this week, went to the Ranger game and had what I'm going to assume was a real service dog, if they get let in to the Ranger game. Had the prong collar,
Uh-huh.
as what I like to call, which definitely ages me,
Mr. T collar. Yeah.
dangling. And my first thought, of course, it was a Malinois that was
Jacked.
just ready.
Let's do this.
On key. I mean, what more stimuli-filled thing than a Ranger game?
Yeah.
Texas Ranger, baseball, loud, there's food, there's kids. And it may have just been so loose. I couldn't see where it was connected, but obviously it's not doing any correction.
No.
And I think you can buy the tools, but if you're not using them
use the tool?
correctly, then, and learning how to use it. Again, people, I bought it, it didn't work. You're so close.
Yeah.
And so I think that people have this mentality of like, oh, well, I couldn't be that disciplined. Well, maybe it's just a 30-minute walk with a different collar.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't have to be a complete life shift, getting rid of the dog and not using treats. Yes, use the treats, but then let's, like, the full spectrum training doesn't have to be like, I can't afford a trainer every other day. I can't afford, maybe hire a trainer once a month.
Mhm.
or once every other month and get some advice. It's like humans with physical therapy. Oh, I can't afford physical therapy. Well, go once.
Go learn once, you can
and
do it
then
yourself.
try to do something. But I guess that goes back to just fix it.
Yeah.
I think people get scared away because purely positive, force free sounds great, and then they don't
It does, right?
understand what
The limitations.
the limitations, and that the other isn't completely negative.
Yeah.
It's not purely positive, and
One or the other.
I don't know what the antithesis of purely positive would be. Like,
It'd probably be
only beating. Like,
negative reinforcement,
Yeah.
which is to put heat on them until they do the right thing.
yeah. And I think people think that.
Yeah.
That we're just lighting them
That's
up.
how you teach
Yeah.
sit down, stay, come, heal.
Yeah.
You just figure out what it means.
Yeah.
I'll let you know when you've done it right.
Yeah. I can't tell you how many times people see that little toy poodle with her little training collar, and it's so funny. It's a training collar.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That makes them feel good. But if I say it's a shock collar, oh, well, yeah,
Why?
she's just constantly getting shocked.
It
Like
just
the second I put it on,
It makes them speechless.
it's a shock
They
collar.
don't know how to move forward from that
Yeah.
after you say
Oh,
it.
you would shock a toy poodle? Yeah.
Especially
Yeah,
this
I
one.
absolutely would. Because I don't want to chase her down for 3 days. Yeah.
Well, that was. Oh, we didn't. I don't know if we ever mentioned it in the last one. We got a last little foster dog at home.
Yay!
She's done. She's
Daisy.
wrapped for now.
Best
Hopefully
home
they'll
ever.
reach out if they need any help,
Yeah.
which they have once or twice already.
Yeah. New dog. They're learning all the things. It's the back to you don't know what you have to
Yeah.
ask until you engage it. And now I was reading this morning, August
It's a bad month, isn't it?
14th was the last time Dallas Animal Services had to euthanize.
Really?
So this has been one of the longest streaks they've had in a while. Some of that is they just had a mega adoption event.
So almost a week.
Almost a week. So foster if you can, share, donate, do all the things.
We're going to get one this week
Yep.
that will hopefully be a good training teacher for us.
And, if you need a dog,
Holla.
one's going in the queue.
Okay, good stuff. Thanks, Bandit.